What's up, everybody? We're here today at Excel Cryotherapy in Albuquerque, New Mexico. If you don't know what cryotherapy is, it's kind of like being in an ice bath, but times 10. I think that's how I would describe it. Is that am I saying that
Yeah,
right?
like an ice bath on steroids.
Like an ice bath on steroids. Today, myself and Josh are going to get into the chamber. You're going to be getting a chance to see us freeze for a little bit. We're also here with the owners, and let me have you introduce yourself.
I am Debra Solomon.
And I'm Jarrin Solomon.
And for everybody who is going to be watching this, I want you to know something. Jarrin is an Olympian. He's an Olympic runner, probably one of the best in the world. He lives right here in Albuquerque. He trains here in Albuquerque. And one of the reasons we wanted to get Jarrin onto the show was we wanted him to talk a little bit about his journey and some of the things he's gone through to get to where he is today. I've had a chance to talk to Jarrin quite a bit off camera, and some of the things he's told me has been pretty inspiring. So we wanted to have him on the show today. We're also going to have his lovely wife, Debra. She's going to be on the show as well. We're going to talk about lots of fun stuff. But before we do that, let's freeze ourselves. Are you ready, Josh?
Let's try this.
All right, let's do
All
it.
right, let's do it. So we're gonna just kind of start you out at a baseline temperature. Do you have any jewelry on or body piercing, something like that? Okay. So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna take everything off, just go down to your underwear, okay? And then I'm gonna provide you with some socks, gloves, and shoes.
Okay.
That's all you're gonna have on, is socks, gloves, shoes, and underwear. And then once you're ready, you can step up inside the chamber, door opens just like a normal door.
Okay.
As you're walking in, ring that white bell. That'll let us know you're ready, and then we'll come in and get you started, okay? Max you can go is 3 minutes.
Okay.
You don't have to go 3 minutes, especially to get benefits. Your first time can be hard. So we'll be in the room. If at any point you want to get out, just tell me. We'll get you out.
Sounds
okay?
good.
Do you have any questions
I
or
don't.
concerns? Okay. We'll let you change in privacy, and then we'll come in and get you going, okay?
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Do you want me to let you change in privacy also?
Yes, I do. Oh, you can stay in here.
That's fine.
Don't put me on film.
All right, here we go. So, that cold air is going to kind of come up, hang out around your chin. So the main thing is I just want you lifting your chin up a little.
Okay.
And then I want you just to take little steps in place just to keep that air moving down around your ankles.
Okay.
Yep. Feels good at first.
You look like Han Solo.
Han Solo went like that. That was good.
Just remember to breathe. Okay? Doing good.
Can I shake? Can I
You
get colder?
Yep, you can do that. Minute and a half. Doing excellent. 5,
So you're getting a break.
3, 2, 1, and then.
Oh shit, that's cold.
So people with like chronic pains, arthritis, it was originally created for that. People with depression and mood disorders or stress-related jobs, this has kind of become like their glass of wine. This is their relaxation at the end of the day. You get a big endorphin rush,
Yeah.
so your mood is kind of enhanced. You just kind of feel happy and good afterwards.
Called the cryo smile.
So yeah, we call it the
Guys,
cryo
like
smile
cryo smile.
because
The guys like,
yeah, it just, so a lot of people, maybe we've had a lot of people that'll be like, oh, I fell in my driveway and I sprained my ankle, but then it's all these other benefits that they see. So we've got a woman right now that's recovering from Achilles surgery, and she's way ahead of schedule. Her physical therapists are amazed at her progress, but the benefit that's going to keep her coming back is all her acne's gone. So
'Cause
it's good for your skin.
That's why, like, Demi Moore's been doing this since it first came to the U.S. And she's one of the longest proponents. I think she's been doing it since like maybe 2010, 2009. And like Entertainment Tonight, they did a story on her because everybody's always asking, like, Demi, you look like you're 30, you're 50, and you still look like you're 30. Like, what's your secret? So they did a whole story on it. And so she's like, well, cryotherapy. She goes to the one in LA all the time because it's supposed to help with elasticity of your skin, tighten your skin, helps with the acne. Like, we have ladies.
Let me ask, why is it important to have your head above?
Well, because the liquid nitrogen, like nitrogen, it's not harmful to you because we're breathing 78% of the nitrogen in the air as it is. But if you're only breathing nitrogen, that means you're not breathing oxygen. So you want to be high enough so you're not breathing in
So it's
just the vapors,
got
right?
Got it.
So they're not harmful. I mean, you can breathe them in, if,
As long as
it's not. Yeah, exactly. As long as it's just a mixture of the air and the
Socks,
nitrogen.
gloves, shoes, and underwear, right?
Yep.
All right, that down real quick. I'm going to pull this over for you just to keep those gases out of your face. All right, here it comes. Just lift that chin up for me. I don't want you looking down in the chamber. Okay? Chin up, and then little steps in place just to keep that air moving. There you go. Just remember to breathe. Remember to breathe. It's going to be a little colder faster for you because you went immediately after him.
So I don't know what Josh was talking about. Josh said it wasn't as bad as he was making it out to be. Yeah, it's bad.
You're doing great. Just keep moving. Keep breathing. Like I said, it's going to get colder faster for you than it did for him because you went right after. Whenever you want out, say I'm done.
Is that a minute yet?
You're almost there. 10 more seconds. You want to stop in a minute?
No.
Oh.
Let's go. Oh my God. Woo!
What feels the coldest?
Oh, everything.
Everything. Yep. You're doing good.
Everything's cold.
Okay, good. Just move around a little if you need to. You can run in place. You can do circles. There you go. Doing good. We'll go 20 more seconds, and then you'll be done, okay?
Oh.
Can you make 20 more? 18 more?
Oh. How long did Josh go?
2 minutes, that's it. You're gonna do the same here. You're doing great.
Woo. Oh man.
5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, and done. Good job.
Get out.
This is completely dry, so it's not that deep penetrating cold.
Right.
That lasts. How do you feel?
Yeah. How do I feel?
Yeah.
I feel good. He's right. You get tingly. But my jaw hurts because I was clinching. My butt hurts because I was clinching.
What happens is your body's
Gotta
ramping up
relax.
the process. Like you're next.
I'm next. Yeah. We need to have a really tall insert for
How
yeah.
tall are you? 4'10"?
4'11" and 3/4.
Okay.
See, you're almost there. You're about
Almost
5
there.
feet. Almost there. You'll get there eventually. You got another half inch.
Am I too tall?
No, that'll work better than. Actually, come on. Let's try the lower one. You might. I just don't want you to be too low. Here goes. So move around a little, okay? I want you to wiggle in the legs, or you can run in place and do little circles. Just kind of keep the chin up. I don't want you looking down in there. You're doing great.
It feels good.
It feels good at first, it does. So it'll just start to get tingly and numb, which is normal, and that's what you want. That's how we know the body's going into that response. So, feeling good. Probably not as bad as you thought it was
Yeah,
going to be, right?
I'm
See?
not freezing yet.
Really?
Yeah.
See, women are awesome.
Why are you guys like crying?
See, and that's why it's so experiential. That's why I tell people, don't take somebody else's experience for what it is, because everybody's response is different. Everybody's tolerance level is different. So you just have to come try it. It's like chocolate. How do you tell someone what chocolate tastes like? You don't. You have them try it. Same thing with this. You just gotta have people try it. You're doing great. You're over a minute in and you're chilling. So. You're doing good. Won't get any colder than that.
It stopped.
So,
So what is the stopping?
So because it's your first time, we don't want to just take you to the depths of cold.
Despair.
Just we want you to kind of get the experience, get it down, see what your individual tolerance level is, and then next time we'll know, okay, let's go a little colder. Or for them, let's keep it at that temperature, let them get used to it a few more times. So
Did you have problems breathing?
I couldn't breathe.
And he was
It's-
sitting
but
a
see,
little
that's
bit
some-
lower in the steps.
well, and that's some people's response too. Is like cold. And he did. He tensed up. He said he was clenching his butt cheeks and his chin, his jaw.
You said that on camera. Thanks, man. Yeah. Clench my butt cheeks and.
You said it on camera first.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're over 2 minutes. Do you want to keep going? Or you want to
Yeah.
stop?
We'll do the 3.
Okay. Good.
What? Girl. Oh hell. Was it hard for
do
you
it.
when you first did it?
I think like it's more scary. I think
It's
seeing
the
the reactions just.
It's the anxiety of it. It really is. The anxiety is the hardest part for most people. But once most people get out and they warm back up and they're like, oh, I was fine. Then next time they can go longer and because they can tell themselves what you're feeling and that flight response that you're getting, I can control now because I know what the end result is.
And all jokes aside,
Good job.
something like this is just so beneficial.
Oh yeah.
Okay, everybody, so we just got done doing our chamber freeze at Excel Cryotherapy here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. This is the home of many, many fighters. Diego Sanchez comes here, Andre Arlovsky, Holly Holm, Hector Munoz. I mean, you name it. Some of the top state's top wrestlers. Jarrin, being an Olympian, has truly embraced what it takes for athletes to get to the next level. We're going to be heading to the studio here in just a little bit. We're going to be going and getting our 4th episode in of the Focus Podcast with my good friends Jarrin and Debra. So as an Olympian, you know, when you decided to open up this facility, what was your first thought in mind and was this something that you wanted to spread amongst all athletes?
Well, you know, for me, it's really, you know, I've taken ice baths 3 times a week for 10 years, you know, ever since I was in college. And, you know, it was one of those things where I was at the Michael Johnson Center in Dallas training, and they had one of these. And I'd known about this since the first one came to the U.S. Nike had one. And so I saw it, and they're like, hey, you need to get in this chamber. So I was like, oh, it's one of those cryo saunas. And they're like, yeah. They're like, this takes the place of an ice bath. Like, this is a full body, you know, ice bath, basically. So I was like, all right. So I got in it, and then I felt good, and I slept like a rock that night, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. So then when they said no more ice baths, I was like, sold. Because ice baths are brutal, they're shocking, you know. And so then she went and tried it, and she liked it, and she gets bad migraines, and her migraine went away after she got out within 15 or 20 minutes. So she was like, wow, this is like the coolest thing ever. So then we wanted to research it, and we were, you know, there was none in Albuquerque, there was really none in New Mexico. So we wanted to, you know, I was like, well, why don't we bring one so that, you know, everybody can benefit it, all the athletes can use it. I mean, this is, you know, in New Mexico, we get everything last. That's just the way it rolls around here. Technologically wise, last. Movies, last. Like, it's just the way it rolls. So I was like, for once, maybe we can bring something new, you know, here that's be at the forefront. And so, you know, and we've seen a huge influx of people wanting to try it, and you know, we have a lot of clients and members and stuff that come in and use it on the daily and weekly.
Well, and I think that's what makes, you know, us a good team too, is he has the athlete perspective of how it can benefit the athletes, and then somebody like myself who has another issue like migraines, more of a medical issue. So I can kind of relate to a lot of the people that are using it for different medical reasons, and he can relate obviously very well to the athletes that are grinding every single day and how they can incorporate this into their regimens.
You got in. How did you feel?
Oh, it was cold. It was great. I feel really energized right now. I think now more than ever I'd probably be more likely to go work out since I have all this energy. But I don't know if it was an adrenaline rush that I got.
Yep, it's a huge adrenaline rush. Adrenaline is released. That's kind of your body's natural response to thinking you're in this compromising situation. It's giving you the stuff that you need to kind of get out of it and propel yourself out of this.
It like wakes you up. So it's like if you were in a fog or you're just kind of lightheaded, it's like boom. Okay, now I'm awake. What's going on? Let's go do something.
So a lot of people get a huge endorphin. Like they feel like they could go run a marathon. You know.
That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, we've had.
So how do you feel, Josh? That she
I got really warm, like really hot afterward. Like my body's still really hot right now. It's definitely first time you have to experience it to understand what your body's going to do with it. But it would be definitely be worth its weight in gold for athletes and propelling your workout regimen. And I can completely understand and see how it works.
Yeah.
How do you feel about not going as long as her?
She turned it off. I didn't say I couldn't.
Oh, you were crying in there like a baby. Yeah, turn it off, turn it off.
No, I never said, watch, rewind. I never said turn it off.
All right. Everybody, so listen, we're going to be heading over to the studio here in just a little bit. As I said, Jarrin's our special guest today on our show. As an Olympian and a business owner here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, we're going to get a lot of really cool insight on Jarrin and his background. He's also going to have Debra. We're going to have Debra on the show. We invited her today because she actually has a real vast knowledge of what the chamber does, and we really want to pick her brain. But we're also going to talk about some things that are outside of cryotherapy, outside of being an Olympian. We're going to get to the heart of some matters that I've been wanting to talk to these two about for a long time. So we'll see you here in just about 35 minutes. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the Focus Podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, Danger K. Varoz on the beatbox, and Joshua Lucera, known as Lucera, not Lucero, don't get it twisted. Also with our special guest today, Olympian. We got an Olympian in the house, Jarrin Solomon.
Yo, yo.
And we also got his wife, Debra Solomon, in the house.
Welcome to the show.
And let's just make this clear right off the bat. I don't know if you guys got this, but We definitely know who wears the pants in this relationship, right? What do you guys think? We definitely know. Jarrin, I hate to put you on blast like that, but
Hey, I can't deny the facts, man.
so yeah, what happened?
Here's 2 pieces of good advice.
Oh, our podcast just started live in actuality.
Oh.
What it was, and we were plugged in listening to it.
Oh, so we're live.
Yeah.
Okay, we are live.
It's just delayed.
A little bit of technical difficulties
and I
there.
wasn't on mute on the computer. So.
Oh, great. That's fantastic. So we tried Excel. Man, I got to get out of that. You guys are going to kill me. It's Excel Cryotherapy. We tried it today. And I got to tell you, I feel great.
Good.
Like I do. I feel really
Good.
relaxed.
Oh, it was amazing. I enjoyed it a great deal. I will definitely start making that a routine.
Routine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. So Jarrin, you're an Olympian. Let's get right into it. What was it how did you get to where you're at today as an Olympian? I mean, tell us about like what it took and mentally and what it took for you, how much heart did it take to get to where you're at today?
I mean, for me, really, track wasn't my thing when I was younger, so I was a soccer player. So a lot of the guys like I run against now, they were, world youth champions, world junior champions, Olympic champions, so, for me, it was more or less, I've always been into sports, and every sport that I've always done, I've worked hard at it, because there's one thing about me, I hate to lose more than I like to win. So, for me, it was just a lot of hard work and dedication in terms of focus. I realized there's a lot of things I have to cut out that a normal day, everyday person could get to do, stay up late and go out late, do that kind of stuff, eat whatever they want. So, I have to kind of watch what I do and, but I've made it a routine, made it a habit of the way that I live. And, I figured that, God only gave me a certain amount of time to be a professional runner. And if I want to get another Olympic medal, I have to continue to buckle down. So, for me, it was more or less just buckling down, cutting out the things that could be distractions, and then, working hard and always believing what the work that I put in. So,
And here's the thing, the life, I'm sure not only, and I'm sure you can agree with this, the life of an Olympian is tough, I mean, as an athlete. Let me ask you this, Deb, being the partner of an Olympian and, having a good support system obviously means everything to you, because the lifestyle that you have to live, the travel, the work, the time away. I mean, how does it make you feel knowing you have that support at home when you know you have someone that's got your back, you have that support system? What's that?
Well, I mean, for me, really, I wouldn't be where I'm at without her. So, when I'm gone, she takes care of all the stuff when I'm gone. Whenever I'm here, she always tells me if I have a bad workout, it's all right. You're still doing well. She just constantly gives me the motivation and keeps telling me I'm doing well and that I can do it. Gives me that reassurance that I'm not the only one who believes that, I can get Olympic gold medal. She believes it just as much as I do. She's just as much invested in my career as I am. So it's, if you don't have that support, it's tough. So you have to find that kind of, and she's bought into everything that I do. So, she goes to bed earlier than I do. And she eats what I eat, and she never makes it a big deal out of that.
Now, do you ever feel like you're taking the back seat?
No. I think he's really good about that. I think that's where a partnership comes in is, I understand that right now that is our life. It's not just his and I'm along for the ride. I'm actually a huge part of it. And he's done a good job of making me a part of it. Including me, asking for my feedback and advice, and I'm invested. I've bought into what he's doing, and I know it's only a very short time that some of us are lucky enough to have the experiences and do what he's able to do. So it's just really buying in, being on board, and being there to be disciplined along with him, and not trying to distract him. So, no, I feel like I'm right there, front lines. I mean, he's concerned about me, and he checks in with me about how I feel about things. So he's a good partner that way.
You hear that, Josh? That's what it takes to be a good partner.
Well, as long as you're supporting me when I'm on the road, I'll be happy to feel in my heart that you have my back.
Include me in some of the stuff that you're doing, and I'll give you that support.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I'll do it.
Am I danger? Do I get an amen over there?
Amen, brother.
The really cool thing is that when you, as an Olympian, and the things that you're doing, what I find most intriguing is that you're super humble. Like, I mean, you're such a nice guy. I mean, you know, coming into your place of business, you know, the first time I ever went in there, I mean, the way you guys treated me.
It was really clean in there. It was really nice and clean. Smelled good.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that too, but I was being a little bit more, you know. Thank you, Danger, for pointing that out. It is. It actually really is
That's
clean in
good.
there.
We try to keep it clean, you
Clean,
know?
It's just comfy, you know.
Yeah.
Trying to make it comfy for everybody, comfortable.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you didn't have to
Stay
get
around.
naked and get in the chamber, so I don't know what
The
you're
kids
talking.
were relaxed. I remember my mom taking me to some places when I was younger, like to get her nails did and shit like that. Like,
You had to
I'd
get
go in
naked?
there and it would just be, no, that never happened.
Oh, I was like, well,
And and just it was really scary and uncomfortable and creepy. And there were waiting rooms, you know, there were magazines there, but you know, they were relaxed. Everyone was relaxed. It was a nice experience. I wish I could have gotten froze.
You should have come. You should have freeze.
I'm gonna
next time.
come back and
Yeah,
I'm
come
gonna come
back
back
and-
and do it. I had to use the camera today, so I didn't get froze, but
Oh, we're gonna get you in there.
I'm really excited about it. I was a little worried because I was telling I had the Kevlar mesh, but apparently that's not a problem.
Nope, not,
Not
a
at
problem
all.
at all. Yeah.
So I can get right in there,
Mhm.
and I'll take it because I want to get it on. I want one of you guys to go with me and prove that I was better at it than Eric was.
What?
Because I'm not going to beg them to stop pumping that gas in there. Is that what it is? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah, it's a
gas?
Oh,
liquid.
you say that now.
We use liquid nitrogen, but it's the gas form that fills the chamber.
How often do each of you, as the guys who are running this operation, how often do you do it? How often do you take?
I typically do it about 2 to 3 times a week, and then Jarrin's usually 3 to 4, just depending on how he's feeling. This last week with a little hamstring issue, he was doing it every day.
Oh, you
so-
more often if there's an injury.
Mhm.
Because it just
Yeah.
continues to keep the inflammation out of there, helps continue to push that blood flow, refresh blood to the site that's injured or that's going on, or if it's inflamed. So it's good to just continue to hit it. So I mean, that's the cool thing about cryotherapy is you can do it more often, you can do it less often. It just really depends on how each person's body feels. So
It's like a harmless system shock.
Right.
Like
It
you,
is.
it's like
Mhm.
creating bark. And
Exactly.
Strong.
Yeah.
You know, it remind me of, I don't know if you guys know anything about the Superman storyline, but you know about Doomsday.
Uh-huh.
How Doomsday was created back on Krypton. They would made this eternal baby that they would torture and kill and rebirth and torture and kill again and again until it's a super, and it's that's like cryotherapy.
Every
And,
time.
but in tiny, little
Little
takes that,
mini
but
minor.
way down here.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Little bits.
Yeah.
It's not as extreme, but has the same kind
Same
of
type of effect, yeah.
making you stronger by shocking.
For those
Right.
of you who don't know, we Eric and I did our cryotherapy earlier today. I'm sure it'll either be on before the show or after the show. I don't
On
know.
the YouTube exclusive, you can see all of that footage. It's gonna be hot.
That's
Or
great.
cold.
Or cold.
Or yeah, or butt clenching cold.
Put some ice
For that burn.
Did you really just do that?
I just did that.
Yeah, you
yeah.
just did that.
What do you call it? What do you say I'm gonna take a dip, or what do you call
Call
it?
it a freeze.
Call it a freeze.
You can
Yeah,
go
it's
take a
just
freeze.
Go take a
yeah.
freeze. Yeah, get that freeze
A
culture.
little
out there.
body freeze.
Yeah, exactly.
Little
That's
cryo
cool.
shock.
That's real cool. Yeah.
You know
Literally.
what I think is really cool about that is that you guys have really gained momentum. What's going on now at Excel Cryotherapy is that all the major UFC fighters over there, you got Holly Holm coming in, Diego Sanchez, Andre Arlovsky. You got I saw you guys on UFC All Access, I believe.
Yeah, we were on Inside MMA on Access TV.
Mhm.
We were on the UFC Countdown, so that's been really cool.
And to be able to get that kind of exposure, along with a bunch of, Quentin and I have been by,
Yeah.
we're going to try. Quentin, I hope when you see this motivates you. These guys want to get you into that chamber, but I can tell you right now, there is absolutely no way you're going to fit in that chamber. So what we're going to
They could
do,
put the little what do you call the thing, the riser?
The riser?
Risers.
Put the risers in there so that the bottom half of him fits
Fits
in there.
Let's
And
have him
then-
going on his knees.
You know,
Just
Yes.
we're
come
gonna
out
have
top.
to order special shoes for him because I don't even have shoes to fit.
Because getting
yeah, he wears a
Yeah.
size 22.
Yeah, there's.
Call him
I
Shaq.
don't-
Yeah.
getting some therapy is
He's a
better
big
than no
boy.
therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What happens on those days when you don't feel like training, you don't feel like doing the work? I mean, how do you motivate yourself to get up every day and do what you do?
I mean, you just have to remember the end goal. I mean, every athlete has days where you just get up and you're like, "God, I just don't want to train today."
I hope my son's listening to this
You
right
just
now.
have that. You just have that thought in your head. You're like, "Oh man," and or you had a hard week before, or you had a hard workout the day before, and you're sore, and it's just like, dang. But you just have to remember the end goal and what the end goal is, and the end goal is an Olympic gold medal. The end goal is to be the winner. The end goal is always to win. And so you just think about it, and how I think about it is, hey, if I can get through today, then tomorrow's another day. So I just use it one day at a time, and I realize that there are those guys out there who, when they do get tired, they'll take that day, and they won't, if they're feeling, and there has to be a balance. Some days, hey, I can't go as hard today, but you still got to go out and do it.
Right.
You still got to go out and put the work in. Because some of those guys, they'd rather just take the whole day off and not do anything. And so that's where you get the leg up on people. People always ask me, I'm out there on Christmas Day, Thanksgiving. In this line of work, we don't get days off. We don't get holidays. It's like, yeah, we get the holiday, but after we're done training.
Right.
So, and that's good, about Debs, is she comes to the track with me, whether there's a holiday or not.
Christmas morning, we're out there.
Christmas morning,
That's great. That's
you're out there
dedication.
grinding. So, you open presents or, do whatever you do for the 10, 15 minutes in the morning, and then you throw your stuff on and go out to train just like normal. And then you go eat dinner or whatever else, with the family.
Do you ever
afterward.
get people who challenge you to run? Like, do you ever get people who are like,
Like
oh,
a runoff?
like-
Rarely. Sometimes people will say it, they never come through.
No, I would listen. We're gonna bring you back. We're gonna bring you guys back on the focus, and this time we're gonna have a race between you, Josh, and Danger.
Oh.
Since I was the guinea pig for the cryotherapy,
You want us to run against this man?
I want you to run against.
We could do it. How long are we talking?
Let's do.
A mile?
No, let's do 4 miles.
I'm gonna let you all take that one.
Yeah.
4 miles?
Are you a distance runner or speed?
Speed, 400 meters, 1 lap, I'm done. Quick and sweet, 44 seconds, I'm finished.
Interesting.
I don't
Yeah.
do the
Are
long
you-
distance.
you're like
I
a-
don't do the short distance.
See, the longest run that he does is on Sunday. It's 1.1, I think.
1.1,
So today he did a
1.2 miles.
1.1 mile, and that's
So
the
it's
longest he
because
goes.
it's time. It's a timed mile, right?
Yeah,
It's, I mean, you're full out.
yeah,
you know?
I just run it. I do it in about 450, 5 minutes, 440, 450, something like that. I just hit it and go.
Grief.
So obviously, when you're training, you're running. That's like a big part of training.
Yeah.
Because as we but do you do anything like?
Oh, is that how it works?
Hold on a minute. Now, hold on a minute there. Do you do anything like, I don't know if you ever seen what was the Rocky when he had to fight the Russian guy?
Oh, Ivan Drago.
Yeah, when he had to fight Ivan Drogo. What was?
It's like my favorite
remember
movie.
like Rocky? Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. Then he had this crazy montage where he's doing like things that aren't boxing to train for boxing.
Uh-huh.
Well, see,
Like,
what
do
he
you,
does
do you
is
have
he
anything
trains
like that?
just like in
Yeah.
the movies. It's identical to the
Just like
movies.
that. You
Yeah.
see me in there, I'm lifting the wheelbarrow with the rocks. I'm hanging from the ceiling in the gym.
You
You
run
know.
to the top of the icy
I
mountain.
do it all in the snow.
Celebrate.
I do it. I do it all. No, I do. I mean, it's running, like I said, we were on the track for about 2.5 hours in the morning. And then, I eat lunch, run by the shop, see how everything's going. And then I go to the gym for another 2 hours in the afternoon
What track do you run at?
at Academy, Albuquerque Academy.
Ah,
Nice
nice.
track. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it's getting a little
He
older,
runs
but-
there. My son runs there every once
Okay.
in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm up there every
Not
day.
like you do, obviously.
Hey, we see and the cool thing is, it's like when I'm up there, people have come up and they're like, man, you're like really cool. You just motivate me. You'll just talk to me. I'm saying, hey man, I'm just like you guys. I just do it at a different level, so
Well, come on, let's be fair. Let's be real. It's not like everybody else. I mean, let's be honest about it. If me and Danger and Josh were out there running
Yeah,
and saw you running, I'd probably just stop running. I mean, you're running with an Olympian trying to look
throw
cool.
your shoes in the trash. Go buy an Xbox One. Just
play the track and field game on the
Yeah.
Xbox One.
yeah.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, listen, here's the thing. Like, a lot of people, there's a lot to be said. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who strive to be good professional athletes. But to be able to say that you're an Olympian,
That's few and far between.
yeah, that's on a lot of people can say they play in the NFL. A lot of people can say they play in the NBA. Nowadays,
lot of
everybody's a
people can
UFC
say
fighter.
they're an
Everybody that knows a takedown is in the UFC. I mean, I watched two guys at a gas station a couple weeks ago go full out on each other over literally over a Red Bull, and one was saying he trains for Jackson's, and the other one saying he was training for some other gym, and they were going to do jujitsu on each other. And 8 swings later, nobody landed a punch, and one tackled the other one by the legs, and yeah, it was just crazy to me.
Yeah.
So
You know,
what I'm
nobody
saying-
wins in a situation like
Yeah,
that.
nobody. No, it was more embarrassing. I mean,
Like,
what
what
was
y'all
worse is
doing?
what was worse is the gas attendant was like an 80-year-old little old lady, and she came out with a broom and beat the piss out of both of them. All that jujitsu went right out the window.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they did look like Olympic sprinters because they took off. But to be able to call yourself an Olympian, that is an amazing. Quentin, I got to tell you the story. Quentin was so excited to meet you.
Really?
Oh yeah, he was stoked. He was like, I've never met an Olympian. And when he met you, he was like, man, that dude was so cool, you know. And I was like, well, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Yeah. you
Well,
know?
people tell it's like funny when you meet and people are like, so when you're in the Olympics, you know, and you know, they're like, so you saw, you know, when Debs came into the Olympics, I took her into the village in 2012, and she was walking around, and you know, she saw Serena and she saw Venus and Michael Phelps and everybody, you know, and she's like, dude, this is crazy. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, it's like these are just all these athletes are in here. I'm like, yeah, but we just walk by each other and like, hey, what's up, man? We hang out. And people, for whatever reason, I don't know if they think we just look like gold or, you know, it's just funny, like, in terms of...
Explain what you felt, though, all that aside, explain what you felt to actually be able to represent the United States in
Well, I ran for Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
No, I'm a dual citizen.
Oh, okay.
So the way my story goes is my dad is actually a 2-time Olympian.
Oh, okay.
So he ran in 76 Olympics and 80 Olympics. And so I've
He's
been a
from
citizen.
Trinidad.
Yeah, my dad's from Trinidad.
Oh, okay.
All my
See,
family on that side's from Trinidad.
Wow.
So I've been a citizen since I was born. And before I was even good or even thought about running track as a living or anything like that, Trinidad called. I think when I was 18, I was a freshman in college, because I really didn't start running track, like actually taking track seriously, until I hit college. So a lot of the other guys, like I said, they're taking it seriously from the time they're 7, 8 years old.
Wow.
And you know, so they called and they said, do you want to represent us? I mean, you're a citizen. And I was like,
Right.
cool, yeah, let's do it. I've always wanted to represent Trinidad and Tobago. And so then that's kind of when I got it. But I never thought, even then, I never thought I would be on the world or Olympic level. And then, you know, it just so happened that, you know, like I said, I don't like to lose. So
Right.
through college, you know, I started pushing myself even harder and harder and harder. And for me, I don't care if I run against guys who are, you know, Olympic medalists or gold medalists, stuff like that. When I was a freshman, I ran against a kid and from Baylor, and that was in 2005, and he was a 2004 Olympic gold medalist. And to me, that's exciting to me. Some people get scared and they shy away and they're like, oh, I don't know, that guy's gonna kill me. But for me, it's like, I'm like, no, I want to run against, because I always want to test myself against the best, you know, the best in the world.
Absolutely.
So that's when, you know, I started going. I was like, okay, I want to do this.
Was there added pressure because your dad was an Olympian?
You know, no, not really. I mean, my dad never really pushed me into track and field. I can tell you, when I was in school, like, you know, I ran track in high school, but it was more of a social event for the girls and stuff, you know. So, you know, I
Kind of
didn't
like how Josh's life is every day.
all
Anyway.
the time.
Right. Because I run.
That's why he's
track.
here now with us.
No, I did. I mean, I did high school track, but I didn't take it seriously at all. It was more like I only knew three track athletes when I was in high school. I knew Marion Jones, Michael Johnson, and Maurice Green. That was it. I had no clue how track went. Didn't know how it worked. You know, my dad, I knew he ran track, and I
Those
would use
three
his-
more than us.
Like, I mean, to tell you, it was funny because I just knew him because I saw him on, you know, in Olympics and meets and stuff, and I knew they were the best at the time. So it's like, okay, but I had no clue that there was even really a pro track scene.
Have you ever been on the track and gone, oh, hell, look who I'm running against? Like, have you ever been intimidated by anybody?
No, I'm
Really?
not really intimidated by anybody. Like, yeah, we know who everybody is, and
So if me and Danger and Josh challenged you this weekend and said, look, we want to get you at your best, we're going to go out and buy some dope running shoes, we're going to put on the gear, and we're going to challenge you.
I'm gonna inject some stuff in your legs.
they take them horse steroids.
I'm gonna find something. I don't know.
None of that would shake you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe. You never know. Depends on what you're looking like when you come out there.
Right.
What kind of shoes you bought.
I wear my underwear on the outside.
Yeah, right? right?
Like Quail Man.
You come out with your lips like this. I said horse steroids, not collagen. Josh, everything.
Collagen.
good. Now we're gonna lose.
Right.
So, you know, let me ask you this. When we talk about the dedication it takes and the work that it takes. And we'll come back to Deb on this one. What do you do when you see him in that zone? What do you do on your end to make sure that nothing's distracting him? You know he's got work to do. Like,
I think it's really, I just try to help him. We always say keep the main thing the main thing. So, we do have a lot going on, personal life, business, track, but ultimately track has given us the ability to do these other things, to open this business and do these other things. So it's just me really making sure that if he starts to get distracted, it's, hey, go, I got this. And I put a lot on my shoulders just to make sure that he can focus on what he needs to do. And it kind of gives him the freedom to go and not feel guilty. And, if he
That's
has
admirable.
to leave for 6-7 weeks at a time, it's just go, do what you got to do. I got everything handled. So it's just that constant reminder and support to say, put it on me. If you need to unload something on me, that's what I'm here for.
That's
So.
great.
Right.
That's wonderful support and dedication to your relationship. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, you really, to be at, his level, you really do have to have somebody that's completely bought in. Even if, I'm not an athlete myself. And a lot of times I think athletes like to be with other athletes.
She's an
because-
athlete. She's an athlete.
Not a professional one.
Well.
So I think a lot of times, people feel like they want to be around somebody that can relate on that level and have that understanding. But I think mentally, if you find a partner that's there and says, hey,
Absolutely.
I've got this, and can kind of sometimes bring you back down to earth too and make you see some of the other things in life.
Right.
It's a good balance. So I think we balance each other out well.
Do you, obviously not to his extreme, but do you go run together?
Very rarely. I mean, his warm up is my full out workout,
Oh, okay.
so it's
She
kind of hard.
hates to run. She likes lifting weights, but she hates to run. She's like, how do you do this? It's so
yeah,
stupid.
I hate to run too.
Gosh, it's the worst thing
Cardio.
ever.
But in credit, I mean, he really doesn't like to run either, right? I mean, he
Right.
sprints and stuff, but he doesn't just go out for these long jaunts around town that some people like to do. So
Marathons.
it's
And I think
bit
a lot of
different.
people probably get that misperception. They see you and they're like, man, you must run like.
Oh, I get that all the time. How fast do you run the mile? They're like, how many miles did you run today? I'm like,
How
well,
fast are you?
Pretty
fast?
that's basically. I either get how fast is your 40 or how fast is your mile. I get that all the time, and I'm like, well, I don't know. We don't time those.
Right.
And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, well, I only run the 400, so that's one lap. So they're like, oh, okay.
Well, usually in the Olympics, it's what's in the inside that counts. So. Just mess with them like that.
Exactly.
I mean, right?
They'd be like, well, the faces that I get sometimes, it's like, when I tell them I run, I'm like, yeah, well, if you add in my warm-up and you add in my cool-down and you add in my workout, well, I run about a mile. They're like, you're an Olympic medalist? Like, how does that work? I'm like, well, we do it all, and I tell them this is how I tell them, like, well, that mile would be at, like, 2:59 pace. I'm like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah, that's if you put it to equivalent
Right.
how fast we run, in our training, it's like, it'd be like running a 3-minute mile, a 250, something like that mile, just because that's what we do speed-wise. So once you tell them that, they're like, oh, like, yeah, we're
See, and
sprinters.
well, the thing is, I don't think, most people don't, they can't even fathom that. It doesn't really put it into perspective until you hear that, because you're like, wow, really? So, I mean, because when I remember, I was guilty of it. I thought you ran distance.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this guy must run like a gazelle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a cheetah.
Well, most of the people that train here, they're all distance guys. I'm really the only, well, besides myself and my training partners, we're the only really sprinters that train at altitude, just because I grew up here and I know a lot of people here support me and help me out, on certain things. And
Have you seen that make a big difference training at the altitude up here as opposed to?
yeah, in terms of like training, I mean, for sprinters, we're anaerobic, so
Right.
we're not really working our cardio that much. Well, we're working our cardio, but it's anaerobic.
Yeah.
So, in terms of workouts, it's harder for workouts because we don't. If we have a workout where we get 6 minutes rest in between a rep, that'd be like taking only like 3 minutes rest at sea level in like
Right.
Florida or California or something.
Makes sense.
So, but in terms of recovery in between workouts and recovery in between races and things like that, I can recover a lot better than a lot of the other guys. Just
So
'cause-
he really sees the benefit when it comes to rounds in like Olympics or major world championships where he has to run several rounds. He can recover much faster than some of the other guys, so he doesn't kind of get as weak. He doesn't get as weak as the rounds go on as some of the
makes
other
sense.
guys do because he has that strength from the altitude.
Interesting.
Have you ever been approached by anybody from like the U.S. contingency to say, hey, can you run for us?
Not really. I mean, the U.S. has such a huge base anyway. Like, they have 300 million people to choose from, whereas Trinidad and Tobago only has 1.5 million people to choose from. Although we are, I mean, it's funny because the U.S., the way it works is, you guys know there's football here, baseball, basketball. You have so many sports that take some of the sprinters away from it. And whereas in the Caribbean and Europe and all the rest of the world, basically there's only, they don't really play baseball.
Yeah.
They don't really play. you've got cricket, track and field, soccer, and rugby. Those 4 sports, they make up a lot. Granted, you do have like EuroLeague basketball, but that's not NBA style, so nobody from the US ever approached us because they have guys just like us, so they have a lot.
Wow.
I could still make the U.S. team, like with my time and stuff. I could still make the U.S. team if I wanted to. But in terms of training, like Trinidad and Tobago helps us out a lot. Like, and we're seen over there as ambassadors to the country and stuff like that when we go out. Because people are like, Trinidad and Tobago, where's that? And then they see us, and then they're like, oh, and then they look it up on a map. I'm like, oh, that's a nice Caribbean island. I want to go there.
Have you been there?
I have, yeah.
So
It's a neat little island.
Do they require
very
you to
different.
spend certain amount of time there? Like,
No, I'm usually there once or twice a year. Trinidad, it's very distracting place. People there are always partying. Like, that's what we do. So, like, they just finished Carnival, which is the best. Trinidad and Tobago's Carnival is the best carnival in the world.
I've heard.
They said, it's better than Brazil's. It's better than, Miami's. It's better than anybody. They just do it for a week. I don't even know how these guys sleep.
Annually?
Yeah, annually. So it just happened last week or the week before was Carnival. No, 2 weeks ago was Carnival. It probably lasted into last week, but so if you stay down there, most people don't even train down there because it's just too distracting. There's too much going on. They'll close the stadiums for the for the parties and for the performances and stuff. So it's hard to train, hard to get in and out of places. So it's just.
Well, it's kind of cool too because living here in Albuquerque, nobody really knows who Jarrin is.
Right.
So it's just kind of living under the radar too. When he goes over to Europe, these guys will be outside his hotel room with books of his pictures, begging for his autograph. But people in our own hometown don't even know who he is, that he's an Olympic medalist and stuff like that. So we have a lot of support here. A lot of people do, but just walking around town, very few people ever recognize him for who he is or what he's accomplished. Right. Whereas in Trinidad, these are their country heroes. And one of his buddies, when we first went down there, he picked us up from the airport and we drive through and we pull up to the end of his block and we look up and I'm like, you have your own billboard? And outside of his town, it says, this is the home of Emmanuel Callender, a 2-time Olympic medalist. And,
That's great.
it's a culture for these athletes down there. So a little different living here, kind of under the radar.
Yeah, they go out there and just people down there in Trinidad. And the thing is, it's cool because that's why, Jamaican sprinters and Caribbean sprinters are so good is because the little kids will see us running and they look up to us, they see us at World Championships or Olympics, or they'll see us in the stadium and we're training. And so, you have the older kids will be training the little kids, and then as they grow up, they'll be training the little kids. And so it's just kind of this continuous cycle of, they see it, they constantly see it. Whereas in the U.S., you look around, like track's high school, but you really don't see many pro meets in the U.S. because they have so many other things. So people ask me all the time, so how do you make money? Like, how does that work? And I'm like, well, we go to Europe. That's where most of the meets are. In Europe, all over the rest of the world, track's huge. Right. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. So.
Yeah, they'll sell out stadiums at a drop of a hat.
If Bolt's there.
Well, unfortunately, like a lot of, out here, the United States is very spoiled, to say the least. So you don't get outside your block or your state, for that matter, where you become more knowledgeable about other events that are going on throughout the world. So, that's part of the ignorance to a lot of everything.
Yeah, that's
well,
very true.
people, that's the thing we talk about all the time. A lot of Americans never travel outside of America, so they never have seen like the difference of sport, from one to the other. Whereas a lot of the other countries, like if you go to Europe in itself is kind of like the States. But it's all different countries. So when they, you can take a train and be in France and Spain. You could be there in, a couple hours. All these different places. So, whereas here it's just gonna take some people time to build like a track circuit. You can run in Europe. We could technically run if we wanted to, like every other day at a meet. That's how many meets that they have.
Wow.
How many pro meets they have, so it's just one of those things where we don't really, if you want to do in contrast, we don't really have cricket. Like Americans we don't really know what cricket is. Like I know what it is because I see it all the time, but I really don't know how to score it. Just kind of how like in Europe they don't really know football.
Right.
Like what's that? It's kind of the same thing with track. Here they don't really understand track, but in Europe it's like
Huge.
track.
Right.
They understand times, they understand people, they understand what it means to break a world record or run a meet record.
So let me ask you, those pictures that we see online, you're in this stadium where there's a really cool picture of you and 3 other guys. You guys are holding your flag.
That's from the Olympics.
That's in the Olympics.
Mhm.
Where was that?
That was in London.
Wow.
Yeah, last Olympics 2012.
That was on their victory lap after they got the bronze.
And you were there?
So I was there. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
great.
It is an incredible experience.
Yeah.
I had never really thought about ever wanting to go to the Olympics. But it's like I want to go now. I mean, the experience of all these countries coming together in peace and cheering for these amazing athletes and these accomplishments, and just hearing the amount of noise kind of going on in these stadiums. I mean, when I think it was Mo Farah's race.
He's one of the best distance runners. He's one of the best distance runners, 5K, 10K guys in the world right now. He's the top. He's the
And he
world
runs for
Olympic champion.
Great Britain, and since it was in London, I mean, I literally thought my head was going to explode. I thought my eardrums were going to pop because the amount of noise that was going on when they were cheering for him. It was just
Well,
an
registered on the Richter
incredible.
scale.
How many people were in the stadium?
Wow.
80,000, I think that was. that
80 or
stadium was.
90,000,
Wow.
something
Yeah,
like that.
it was absolutely incredible.
So let's talk about this for a second, then we're going to jump into some other topics. But going back to that support, I'm sure there were times when things weren't always going as well as you guys may have planned. Talk to our audience a little bit about some of, and I think it's really cool that we do have you both on here, because I think a lot of people need to hear this. There's, because you see a lot of people in relationships and you see one person doing one thing, another person doing another, and sometimes those people don't, there's that support really isn't there, or there's a little bit of animosity or jealousy, underlining jealousy. Talk to our audiences about those times, because you really get to find out who's got your back.
Yeah.
When shit isn't going exactly the way you plan, when bills are piling up, or
Yeah.
you're short on this, or you're struggling for that, or you're trying to train and you're tired. How did you guys get through those times?
I will say I think we're pretty lucky. I mean, we don't have many of those times, but I think there's been times where we can't relate to each other. I had a corporate job for almost a decade, and I'd come home exhausted. And he'd say, I don't want to hear about exhausted. I've been running all day.
I ran from here to that mailbox at top speed.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about it.
And you've just been sitting in a chair all day. He doesn't understand the mental exhaustion that a corporate job takes out of you, the stress and just how it wears you down. He cannot relate to that.
I never worked like
and
that
then,
before.
Right.
He probably never will. Like him. So, there's been clashes that way where we sometimes, bicker about who's more exhausted, who's more tired, and who has it worse, But ultimately, I think we're pretty lucky where, it's just, we just know that we can't relate to each other on that level. But it's really just understanding, trying to expose yourself as much as possible to what the other person's world is,
Right.
and letting that person in. And I think that was the biggest thing is, in the beginning, just getting.
Well, she didn't even know what I did for a while.
I didn't.
When I first met her, she just used to say,
It's like, oh, what? I don't have the weight of a whole country on my back, or
Like,
what?
like she didn't even know. Like I would say, when I first met her, I met her outside this our apartment complex in Dallas when I was training, and we'd be talking. I'd be like, yeah, I gotta go. My training partners are waiting. And we all gotta meet there at the gym at such a time or whatever. And she'd be like, oh, okay. But she never really asked, like, training partners. She just thought they were, like, gym buddies, guys that were just hung out with. Like,
No
she
clue.
didn't have really a clue until, like, I don't know, maybe a few months into us dating. I don't know. We finally had a cause, like, oh, yeah, I'm a professional
Well, I
runner.
think
And she's
you had
like,
to go
"Oh."
out of town or something, and you asked me to watch your dog. And
Yeah.
so then I thought, well, where are you going? Oh, well, what are you going there for? And then it was like,
She's like, oh, yeah, that's what it was. I
Okay.
said, yeah, I'm going out of town. And she's like, well, where are you going? I was like, I'm going to Qatar for the World Indoor Championship. She's like, what? I was like, yeah. She's like,
Fathers
yeah,
are
I'm
getting
going-
curious.
she's like, Doha, Qatar. What?
Oh, you're gonna lie right off the bat. You're gonna lie. Where's that on the map?
Right. It's like, aren't you scared to go to the Middle East? And I was like, well, not really. I mean, you know, like Qatar is like a really, really rich country. It's one of the richest countries in the world, you know. And I was like, that's where World Championships is. And she's like, okay. So that was when she started to learn, like, okay, this is like an actual job. And my mother-in-law is the same way. She's just now probably learning what track and field is. It took her until I went to the Olympics to really realize, like, okay, he's just not BSing us. Like this is
Wow.
this is
Like
really,
that,
this
huh?
is like really, like this is really.
So
what
the
he
mother-in-law
does.
stepped in and was like, "Is he really taking care of you? Is he really a good man?"
You know, yeah, my mom, talk about being spoiled, you know. My mom's been spoiled her whole life, and she's really never had to work. She's been very lucky. And so she doesn't understand a lot of things that a lot of us deal with in
It's
life.
like, is running really a job?
Yeah.
Right.
And so she would always ask, well, how does he make money? You know, are you guys doing okay? What's this? Like, she doesn't understand not having that biweekly paycheck that comes in, you know, and how people can live like that.
Right.
So that was she was a little worried in the beginning. But then I think too about when we got married in August of 2014, we had our wedding in Aruba. And my mom said something to me, and I was like, well, don't thank me. Jarrin paid for it. And then she was kind of like, again, it was that reminder, like, oh, okay, he really does make money and can provide.
So, gee, automatically, I'm a fan.
Right.
Like, oh, he paid for Aruba. Okay, this is great. I'll go thank him. But, you know, it just takes a little
Okay, well
time.
maybe I like it.
Yeah, maybe he's all right.
Yeah.
Maybe he's cool.
But I think for a lot of people, too, I mean, if somebody says they're in the NFL, okay, we know how they get paid,
Right.
But track works a little bit differently. It's either sponsorships or each meet will pay, or your agent will negotiate an appearance fee for you. So it just works so much different.
Well, and that's much like being an entrepreneur. You know?
Absolutely.
When you're an entrepreneur and you run your own business, I mean, it's easy. You know, one of the things that I've found to be the most frustrating, especially in the business I'm in, is that you get a lot of people from the outside, you know, they would never have the balls to
Correct.
step out, run their own business, or do something that doesn't bring in a 2-week paycheck. They
Correct.
just won't. But they'll be quick. Oh, they're quick to criticize, and they're quick to judge, and they're quick to jump on you about being irresponsible, and don't do this and don't do that. But
Well,
it takes a lot of courage.
It
It's
takes
easy
a lot
to
of
jump on
courage.
somebody when they're trying to start something or do something or follow their dreams. But then everybody wants to be your friend when you're on top, you know. So
Right, and
I mean,
I think there's that wrong expectation too. You know, I think a lot of people they just assume that we're super wealthy because
yeah.
they hear professional athlete. Well, there's a lot of professional athletes in this world that aren't
Right.
rolling in money, you
Right.
know. And then, oh well, they own a business, they must have a lot of money.
Right.
Well,
Still gotta pay bills.
You still got to pay bills,
Yeah.
and you know, when you start a business, you put a lot of your personal finances on the line, so you don't have that safety blanket
And a
and
lot
that
of times you
comfort
don't even get paid
anymore.
for that for a while.
I haven't taken a paycheck since I quit my corporate job. I haven't had a paycheck in almost a year, you know, so it's
So now I really have to run fast.
Yeah, now we really need to run fast, we tell them. So, you know, it's hard, and a lot of times you don't get the support from your family, especially when your family is rooted in the more traditional way of
Right. It's
go
hard.
and
It's
get
hard.
a paycheck and try to get a pension, which companies don't give out anymore. You know, it's hard to find that support, and they can't relate. You know, my mom still, bless her heart, I know she just misses me and wants to see me, but, well, can you just close the business for a few days and come home? No, it doesn't work that way, you know? Like, I
Right.
can't just
This isn't a
take a
lemonade
vacation
stand.
whenever
There's
I
a whole
want,
line of
you
people at the door
know?
trying to get called. They can't just do that.
Exactly, you know, and
You
it's
gotta shut it down.
yeah, they can't they just haven't
Yeah.
immersed
Oh, you're the
themselves.
boss.
Have
You
to
can do whatever you
understand.
want.
Exactly, it doesn't work.
Well, I
I mean,
think
I
that-
work 6 days a week, and then even when I'm not at the shop, I'm working. Today, you know, I'm doing things. You know, we're going out and meeting with clients or sponsors and things, and we're doing different events, or we're sitting at home, you know, at night when we're at dinner. We rarely talk about our own lives anymore.
Right.
It's when we're sitting at dinner, we're still talking about the business and strategies and everything. It's
But you know what?
24/7.
Kudos, listen, and I think we would all agree to this. Kudos to you for that, because it takes a hell of a person, one, to do what Jarrin does, and two, to do what you do. It takes a hell of a team to every day follow your goals, follow your dreams, work to be successful, do it together. Don't worry about what everybody else has to say. Just get it in.
Yep.
I mean, because listen, I'm sure in the short time you've been here, like, because originally I'm not from here either, but
Right.
you know, in the short time that you've been here, you know, there's like a cesspool of like haters. Like people just
Oh, yeah.
can't stand to see you do well.
Yeah.
They can't stand to see you. They can't stand to see you succeed in anything.
Yep.
You know, when I saw that other cryotherapy place open up
Uh-huh.
on Facebook, they reached out to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, no, delete. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't even, you know, because I knew the motive behind it.
Exactly.
And my thing is this, is like,
That's
you
funny.
know,
There's there's so many haters out there. Speaking of which, to hell with that other cryotherapy. The place sucks. Don't go there. It was too cold. They got it all wrong.
They don't make you feel warm and toasty afterward, and
yeah,
it's
they
just
didn't even
all.
put gloves
Hate
on.
those guys. Right? Anyway, sorry. What were you saying?
But I think that goes without saying with any
Like that.
you know, yeah, thanks, Danger, for throwing that in. I'm so glad you're editing this at the end. I think that goes without saying because all of us can attest to that type of when you're laying up late at night and you're like, sometimes you can panic. You can panic about it.
Yeah.
You're like, you know, are we gonna be able to do enough this week to suffice the next week? Are we, you know, are you gonna race? You know, it gets to the point where, hey, how many races you got this month? Because we need to take care of this, and this,
Right.
and this.
Right.
And how many clients do we need in through the door?
Right.
Most people can't even fathom that, but they're quick to judge and
Yeah.
they're quick to
Well,
talk.
it's like, you know, I think we were talking about this the other day in the shop. You know, we had the TVs in there and we're watching, you know, we watch these home improvement shows and all that kind of stuff. And I was telling Debs, I said, a lot of people, like for me, they used to say, oh, you're going to get to go to the Olympics. And they're like, that's going to be awesome. And they'd be so excited. And I would tell them, like, well, hold your excitement. Like, you know, hold on. I said, I don't want to just be an Olympian. I want to go to the Olympics and I want to do something. They're like, but just going to the Olympics, like, that's great.
Right.
And I said, yeah, it's cool. I was like, yeah, it's great. There's not a lot of people get to do it. I said, but there's something more. I said, and there's something more, which is to be an Olympic medalist. I said, I don't want to just go to the Olympics and be a person, another participant. I said, I want to go to the Olympic medalist and do something that most people will never ever do, even people that go to the Olympics. I want to be an Olympic medalist. And so when we were watching the TV show, I said, you know, a lot of people, they'll see people on a TV show or a movie or whatever, and it's like, wow, man, look how good. I mean, they must be rich. I mean, how'd they get in the movie? And they don't realize that they can do it themselves.
Right.
It's just you have to say, hey, well, if they can do it, then I can do it.
Exactly.
And so a lot of people just see you know, stars and professional athletes, and they just automatically think like, wow, they just have something I don't have.
Right.
But it's really not true. I mean, I came from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where we don't have any pro sports teams. We've never had any pro sports teams. We have semi-pro stuff, and but we don't have any. We don't see the professional athletes rolling around here in Lamborghinis and Bentleys like like in Atlanta or New York or something.
Well, and you being a professional athlete from here, have you ever felt a little bit slighted at the fact that, you know, people don't really know or show support like this?
I just understand it. You know, I understand why people don't understand. Like, I understand why they don't. It's because they're not used to it.
Right.
You know, if you go to Atlanta or you go to one of those big cities, they understand it because they understand what pro sports means and stuff. And I think the UFC and like having Holly and all them down at Jackson's, you know, being champions and stuff, like I think New Mexicans in a whole are starting to realize like, hey, you know, people can come from here and be on the global level, be the best in the world at something. Like we don't have to be just, oh, we're in lowly New Mexico over there, but doesn't have any pro sports team and doesn't have this and that. It's like you can do whatever you want just because you don't come from a big city or a place that breeds, you know, like Texas.
I'll tell you from personal experience, one of the truest sayings I've ever heard is, what one man can do, another can do. And that has gotten me through a lot of different training scenarios. I come from a different background. I come from a law enforcement and military organization. But that whenever you're having your slow days or your hard days, you know, what one man can do, another can do. And that pushes you through
it's
a lot.
It's a huge thing. I mean, you realize, and that's why I tell people, I said, you know, somewhere in the world when people are like, man, you train on Christmas or you train on Thanksgiving? I said, yeah, well, somewhere in the world it's not Thanksgiving for somebody.
Right.
Or somewhere in the world it's not Christmas.
I like to say, my saying is it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Exactly. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
5 o'clock somewhere.
True.
And if someone else isn't drinking at 5, I sure am. I'm drinking at 5.
And that's the thing, you have to look at it like that. And I say, like, you know, if I'm not training today, somebody over there who may not celebrate Christmas, they're probably training.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
do
so-
today what others won't, so you can do tomorrow what others can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think so much is possible, and you know, I think especially, you know, I've lived a lot of different places, seen a lot of different mindsets, and I definitely feel like in New Mexico, especially, there's kind of a fixed mindset here that where you start is where you're going to finish, and you know, I think he's a good testament to that's really not the case. You know, anything is possible, and I kind of like to live by the motto. It's a quote I saw recently was, set a goal so big that you can't achieve it until you grow into the person who can. And it's
very true.
It's so true, especially for him. He set that goal to get an Olympic medal when it was not really even in sight.
Oh, they didn't even
to
think.
do.
I tell you what, a lot of people didn't even realize. They didn't even think, like, when I'd say I want to get an Olympic medal, it'd be like, yeah. It was one of those, like, yeah, I want you to go do it. But you could tell in their response, it was like, I don't know about that. He might just get. He's just going to Olympic. That's pretty cool. But the Olympic medal, that's
Like
a
just
little,
almost hoping you wouldn't get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't really believe it was possible. And so then when I came back, after getting the medal, it was like a lot of people's mindsets changed. They were like, wow, like he really got an Olympic medal. That, like, what the heck just happened here?
Right,
And it's like, and the thing is, when we went into the Olympics, we were only ranked 12th in the world. Like, we weren't even technically even supposed to make the Olympic final.
Oh, wow.
And we went and got a medal. And so, it just went and showed. And I was telling all the guys, some of my teammates, you could tell in their mindset they were happy to be there.
Right.
And, so I was telling them, I was like, guys, we can get a medal. Trust me, like, if we just run well and we can get a medal. And they were like, okay. So after talking for like 2 weeks, I probably sound like a broken record, but we were I was jamming it all the time. And then, the first round we broke the national record. We like shattered the national record. And they were like, dang, man, we ran 2:59. Like, they were pumped. And I was like, dude, I'm telling you, tomorrow we can get a medal. We're in the final, and anything can happen. And so then when we got a medal, it was like she was kind of like speechless, like, that's really just happened.
Oh, it was such a moment. You can think about how you would react when something happens, but until you're in that moment and you're just witnessing this firsthand. And then what was really cool, here's this stadium of 80,000 people going bonkers, and me and his mom, we run down, we're trying to fight the little usher people from preventing us to getting down towards the track, and finally we snuck by one and got down close to the track, and he's coming around his victory lap, and I was just yelling, hoping, and we made eye contact in this huge stadium of 80,000 people, and it was such a cool moment. I just stood there with like my hand over my mouth, just
I was like,
in shock of what
Well, the
just
thing is, and then
happened,
my phone crashed. I didn't even I couldn't even check Facebook or my phone until the next day, because I tried to look at it on my phone, like all the Facebook messages and requests and stuff, and it just like wouldn't open. Like, I think I got before I was even back in the village, there was 300, 500 either friend requests or messages or like good jobs, all that kind of stuff. And it was like, whoa. So it was wild though. We had a statistician in the Olympics, and he said the likelihood of getting an Olympic medal is 1 in 700 million or something like that. It's like winning the lottery in a sense.
And listen, and that goes back to that whole thing of, and I think it's funny because parents these days are so afraid to push their kids, and they celebrate everything. They celebrate, oh, you got 9th place. That's so good. No, it's not good.
They celebrate participation.
It's not, don't
Celebrate mediocrity.
Yeah, don't celebrate mediocrity. It's funny. We were talking about this a couple episodes ago. Danger is a comedian, and I'm always, and it's funny because since Danger and I started working together, I've always been thinking about this. Like, I wonder, like, when he goes on the stage, how does he feel? Like, because at any given moment, that crowd could go one way or the other. Mm-hmm. And Danger, talk about that. You talked about it a couple shows ago, but talk about how you feel like when you go on stage and you're working the crowd and you don't know one way or another yet how they're going to react to you.
Well, sometimes they straight up go other places. You don't really know what's gonna happen.
Is that?
Like, like, it's not like, oh, will it happen? Like, sometimes, like, you can depend on it happening sometimes, especially if you have a long set and everything's going on. Oh, by the way, I have a really big show in Los Alamos coming up. If anyone out there listening is a Los Alamos person.
And there's a plug from Danger.
Yeah, at the Smith Auditorium. Yeah, March 12th, Saturday, March 12th. Advance tickets for $12, $15. It's going to be 7 p.m. Smith Auditorium.
Who else is going to be there?
Headliner Matt Peterson.
Oh, nice.
And my good friends John Cuellar and Nikki Mangan.
Okay. Right on.
It's going to be really cool. You should come, Eric.
I'd love to.
Yeah. I can get you an access.
You can get me access?
Sweet
That's
access,
great.
bro.
I can't come.
I get you access.
Oh.
You won't go. You won't show up anyway.
He's not going to come.
He's not going to come.
He's not going to come.
Did I get invited?
You did now.
Oh, okay, well then I might come.
You
If
got
I
that
get
official
invited,
invite.
I can't. I'm not gonna just like crash a party.
But
I
can't ride you up there though. I have to carpool with the other comics, so you guys have to get your own wheels.
Okay.
You can
Well,
ride with him.
Take the rail runner
Well, your car never works, so that means I'm driving.
till halfway.
Are
Yeah.
you coming for sure?
Well, I plan on it.
Yeah, you guys are
I gotta
invited
look
too.
at my calendar.
When is it?
but-
March 12th?
Saturday, March 12th, Los Alamos. It's a
Probably
big
will.
show. It's actually like a bigger comedy show than happens in Albuquerque.
Really?
Just because they just don't do it here. So we're throwing our own in Los Alamos. It's my
How
hometown.
far is Los Alamos?
It's like
An hour and a half.
no, it's like 70 to 80 minutes, just under an hour and a half.
Just a little bit further than Santa Fe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and it's a really nice place. Really good restaurants. You can stay for dinner up in town. I'm plugging the whole town now. Listen to that.
Ah, nice. Okay.
Very
Hang
cool.
out up there, buy a condo, get a quadruplex, duplex,
Well, listen, if Josh goes, I'll go.
and you guys might stay forever there together.
Well,
Anyway,
we gotta go. So
That's getting
All right.
creepy, but
okay then. Back to,
okay. So
back
let's.
to our
So I don't know did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
damn right.
I saw the last quarter.
Did
It
you
was
see
the best quarter.
Did you see the halftime show?
No.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you saw Beyonce's performance.
The show in general was not that good. Like everybody,
Yeah.
like it was kind of like random. They had Coldplay, and then they said their whole thing was just bring on everybody else who had been on the halftime show, and they didn't really do much.
You want to
except-
talk
yeah.
about Beyonce's performance and the controversy surrounding her performance?
Well, I was going to subtly get there, but thank you, Danger.
I just have
Speak on it.
one point to make about that.
Please.
That most people didn't have a fucking clue what the symbolism meant until people started pointing
people
it out.
started
to be-
Like
yeah,
dumbasses
it's
on
true.
the internet the next morning. Did you see that?
That's Black Panthers.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. She's fucking artistically expressing herself. Shut the fuck up and we're going home. It's ridiculous. I can't stand this.
I've been shocked by it. Like police, she did a show recently in New York, and police refused to protect her. The police were like completely offended by her halftime performance. Can somebody tell me why?
I can tell you why.
Why?
Police unions are dicks. No, they are. Look up news, police union,
Are dicks.
and just read like a bunch of articles for like the next hour, and what you will derive is that police unions go out of their way to be politically motivated, conservatively minded, pig-headed dicks to as many people as they possibly can.
I'd like to go on
They
record
fight
and
progress.
say that this is Danger's soul.
This is
Soul
not.
opinion,
Let me
soul
tell,
opinion.
let me say something else because I'm a progressive. I'm a strong supporter of unions and the right to exist, but some unions have become political monsters that are run by elitist people that do not represent the people they're supposed to represent.
Yeah, but
So
that you can't say that as a
cops are
black
great people. I've
blanket
known a lot of
statement.
cops. You were a cop,
Yeah,
right?
I
I've
yes.
known a lot of great cops. I've known a lot of used to be cops. All kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Do you consider yourself to still be a cop even as like president? Whenever you're not the president anymore, you're still a president.
No.
Like I'm still a cop.
Do you still carry your
No,
badge,
'cause
Josh?
it's like a Marine, you know, like once you're a
Do you pull
Marine,
it out
you're
at
a
movies for
Marine.
discounts and Village Inn?
Yeah. But
Because if you don't give it to me, I'll use it.
well, to answer your question, your credentials still you're still considered an officer, but you're not employed. You know what I'm saying? Like through.
so you're always an officer, kind of like why you're.
Well,
always
as
a
long as you
Marine.
maintain your certificate, as long as you maintain
Okay.
your certification, but
So it's not like CPR.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, in a way, it is.
I guess if you have to, yeah, okay.
What were we talking about? Oh yes, police
Yeah.
unions. Anyways, so often they're represented by people who aren't necessarily like. Here's a big interesting thing. Like recently, the Black Caucus in Congress endorsed Hillary Clinton, but that was like 7 out of 40 something actual Congress people voting on whether or not to endorse Hillary Clinton. And a lot of people are like, hey, what's going on? Why did you just throw it in for Hillary Clinton all of a sudden? What about? And they asked him at the press conference, so like, Mr. Leader of the Black Caucus, I can't remember his name. They're like, have you met Mr. Sanders? And he's like, no, I have not actually met him. I don't really know a lot about him. And they're like, really? Okay.
So I think there was something you never
Yeah,
met.
just
Like,
throw it in, and I think there's a lot to be said about that because, for instance, that's like a leader of a group of people who are all nice people that all represent other nice people. But
Okay, so
somehow,
getting back
when
to
you get to the top, you get weird special interests, and you have a police union.
But hold on. But
Let's
still,
go-
my
let's-
point is, why do people get
Beyonce.
so upset about Beyonce?
I think it was more
Were
or
you
less her.
upset?
Well, I'm not upset. I realized because same thing. When she was doing the performance, I was really not a big Bruno Mars fan, so I was just kind of like on the internet, and I'm like, look up, oh yeah, that's cool, and I was like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. You know, I'm like, all right, so I kind of kind of got into it, but I really wasn't paying attention to the performance until after. And then I realized people are mad because like I don't even think it was so much the performance. I guess what it did was it led people to go look at her latest music video.
There was
where it
some
showed,
vocals in there.
There were some vocals in there about cops and whatever else, and then it was showing some stuff like that, and that's where people were like, "What the heck? You know, she doesn't like cops," and it's kind of like.
Well, something about the Black Panthers is what I
Well,
heard.
the whole salute, like what they wore and stuff, and then how
And they
they
had the
put their
fists in
hand
the air
up and stuff. That was more a Black Panthers thing, and
Yeah,
But I
can,
thought we
can
already
you really
went over
take
this.
anybody seriously who's rapping about having hot sauce in their bag? Like, really? So I'm really
Good
not
point.
worried about
Good
it.
point.
You know,
Good
either
point.
way. So.
Well, thank you,
Artists
Debra.
is clearly expressing themselves.
exactly
I
clearly
mean-
expressing her opinions and what she likes on hot sauce.
That was
I like hot
nice.
sauce,
Thanks,
that's
Deb. Totally shit on my parade. I was trying to get. She's like, can you really take anybody serious who talks about having hot sauce?
Good point. Good point.
But that is a very good point. But the thing is what you're talking about, and that argument of
Well, you had just brought up the fact that they weren't protect her. That's
Yeah,
why.
they- well, they were-
because the
yeah.
leaders of the union are dicks.
They're saying basically she doesn't like police. What she's saying
They wanted
is
to
that
make
police
a
are all bad.
political
and-
statement about
right.
Beyonce because they knew it'd get in the news. They'd be like, "Did you hear the police aren't protecting Beyonce?" And everyone's talking about it like, "The police need to protect Beyonce." You know, what does Beyonce have to say? She's like, "I don't want to be protected by the police." You know, like it's crazy.
Well, they were saying something, and they said something about, I don't know full knowledge of it, but they said something that Beyonce said something in her lyrics about police being horrible.
Yeah,
or
she said,
something.
I forget exactly what she said, but yeah, it was to the tune of basically police are bad, and it's like they're here to protect us, and they're not, and it's kind of like, you know what, we talk about this all the time in the Black Lives movement and all that, and I said, the way it goes is, yeah, there's always a few bad apples in every crowd. That's how it rolls. That's just
that's
you can't
life.
say
That's
that's life. I mean, you've got some bad police officers who do things that are bad, but then the majority of them, like I've never met a bad police officer who did things that were super bad, and I mean, so yeah, there's going to be people but you can't say that as a whole all police are bad.
Right.
But I think what happens is it just gets lost in translation where they're like, hey, gosh, all cops suck. And it's like, no, really, they don't.
One thing
No, I
I've
did
always
not
had-
say all cops suck, Josh. That
You
is
said,
not.
you.
I said
Okay,
the
you-
leaders of the police union are most likely all corrupt dicks.
Oh,
oh my God,
sorry-
can we
sorry
please
for
stop
the-
saying that word?
sorry for the misinterpretation, but
Yeah, because he wasn't so literal about it. Yeah, yeah. Please, Danger, tell us how you really feel. Don't hold nothing
I
back.
think in general, and any life issues, people always want to blanket something, and the reality of it is nobody can be blanketed with anything because, I mean, everybody has their own reasoning for doing something, and so you can judge that specific instance, but you can't judge that on everybody, and that's through all
Things.
all
Well, it's like she
things.
was saying earlier. It's like all people think that professional athletes are all rich,
Right.
Because they see a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady or Mike Vick with his huge lavish houses and a lot of cars.
Right.
So they blanket. Well, all professional athletes must be rich, and they all must be. I got in a debate with one guy one time a couple years ago. We were playing poker at the casino, and he was like, it was when the NFL was going through the CBA union thing, and they were having the lockout or whatnot. They're like, "Oh, these athletes are so stupid. They're all rich. They all have all these cars. They should just, do what the owners want so we can get the football back on." I was like, "Well, really, that's not how it works." It's like a lot of these guys aren't rich. Like they're not as wealthy as you think they are. Yeah, they might make the league minimum of $330,000, but you have to realize that's only for 17 weeks, so they have to be able to.
The ones you can name off the top of your head are rich.
Exactly.
Right.
But the other, I mean, think about it. On every single team, you've probably got maybe
50-some guys or
there's
something?
50-something guys, and probably 10 of them have multi-million-dollar contracts.
Right.
So you're not even looking at maybe a couple more, but you're probably not even looking at 50% that have million-dollar
And
contracts.
they're only going to make that much for a couple of years. too.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's-
and then they have to
there's
pay
the
for their own
short,
health
yeah.
insurance when they're done, and health insurance for a football player that's been in the NFL is
Which
like
is why
astronomical.
you, my friend, need to be very careful about what you do, because you sprain an ankle and that could be it.
Well, that's the thing is like we I mean,
Why we don't do anything.
that's why we're pretty
That's
lame.
why we don't do
That's why we
anything.
don't get to snowboard, we don't get to do anything, and it's like
Well, and the thing is, going back to the whole Beyonce fiasco is, I've been reading all these different things in the news about how so many people now are trying to boycott her. All these police. It's funny because now white officers and black officers are all coming together, and there was this huge divide. Now even neighborhoods in certain cities are coming together, and boycotting Beyonce, and it's like, come on now. you
It
know?
will never be enough to stop Bey. It won't be enough.
Thank you, Josh.
Well, the thing is,
I'm
like,
in
people,
danger.
like, everybody has their opinion. So, what's, you boycott your opinion, you can boycott her, but if you still like her music, it's like, well, that's just what she thinks, you know, but that's not necessarily what that you might think. So,
Yeah,
who
Use that
cares?
word again, Bay. I'm gonna hit you in the face.
Okay.
Okay. He said, okay. You know, it's funny because like there was even a while back, there was another controversy where with Beyonce, and someone had said that she had made some comments about like gay rights, gay marriages, and you know, specifically towards gay men. I never heard that. I never heard any.
And because it wasn't 30 years ago, it's everyone's business. If this had just happened 30 years ago,
I
no
know,
one
right?
would have heard about it.
Exactly, right?
Now everyone has to be like, well, I think that. And then I'm like, nothing's going to stop Bey. You know, so there's different opinions about that.
Well, the thing is, it's more publicity. Every time somebody says, "Oh, I'm not gonna watch Beyonce," or "I'm gonna boycott Beyonce," there's probably 3 people who are like, "Beyonce, who's that?"
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you know, she's got 3 more. Well, I love this girl's music, so I'm gonna go.
The old saying, no, what is it?
No
No
publicity
is
is
bad publicity.
Any publicity is no. Wait, I don't know.
Any
Even
publicity's
bad
good.
publicity is good publicity.
That's
Yeah,
the
I mean,
one I was
No,
looking
it's
think
true,
about it,
because
it's
even
like-
Cosby records have been selling on Amazon. People want to buy him and listen to his old shit.
It's
Yeah.
like,
It's like, wow, you can't even hear like the horrible, you know,
well, it's like, yeah,
things
there's.
that he's thinking while he's telling these jokes. You can't even hear the perversion. He sounds like such a nice guy.
You know, and Hannibal, it's funny because Hannibal Buress right now is like totally kicking himself. You know, because he's like, God damn it, I did it to expose him, and I've made him more famous than ever.
Right.
Well, I
the
mean, he's
thing?
still like in serious trouble. So it's not
But look at Johnny Manziel. Dude can't hit the broadside of a barn. Horrible. But he's always in the news for, you know, or no, for example, like Tebow. People didn't like Tebow. Everybody hated Tebow.
Oh.
Or people loved Tebow, or they didn't like Tebow. Or they said, oh, he's bringing religion into the game. But Tebow was a first-round draft pick,
Right.
even though he should have never been he probably shouldn't even been a fourth-round draft pick.
Yeah.
But because people knew who Tebow was, the owners were like, oh, well, we're going to get a lot of publicity. He's a good guy, good Christian fella.
And they
Let's bring him
quickly
in."
realized their mistake.
And
they
then
got him out of
quickly
there.
realized he couldn't hit the guy in the second row.
Yeah.
So, you know, he, like, you know, that's his publicity got him to where he was. It wasn't really his gain, but it was, you know, people with bad publicity saying, oh, he shouldn't put the black under his eyes with the, you know, Bible verses and stuff. Well, then everybody was going and watching the game to see what Bible verse he had under his eyes.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Which, you know, and it's funny because, you know, there's so many people, like you said, Johnny Manziel. I mean, it blows my mind that a guy like that, you know, even on ESPN a couple weeks ago, there was a guy, an analyst on ESPN that said, I would like to slap this dude. I'd just like to slap this kid.
he's a
upside his
wasted talent, and he doesn't understand, like, so many people in that position.
head. Would love to have.
Dedication.
Love
Would
that.
love
I
to
mean,
have that.
dedication.
dude, you were the first round draft pick. You have a platform to do basically whatever
you want.
and you're just over here being an idiot.
You're flying to Vegas every weekend, acting stupid.
Like hitting your girlfriends and coming up to practice drunk. It's like, dude, do you realize how much reach? I mean, what you could do for not only yourself but for your family, for the community,
Right.
To show kids what's really the true way to go.
Right, exactly.
But you
Yeah.
don't realize, like, you're just, you know. And so many of these athletes. I mean, think about it. Some of these athletes who go and they get popped for smoking marijuana or weed or some drug 2 or 3 times in the NFL. It's like, bro,
Right.
you're giving away 6 figures of money or more.
Mm-hmm.
You're a star, but guess what? You can't do that because you would rather smoke a doobie
Right.
than
Right.
catch
Well, I
a
think that's
football.
where our society's going, is that entitlement mentality, that untouchable mentality that, you know, I can do whatever I want, and they don't care about
'Cause I'm good.
people, you know, and the people around them. There's not that sense of community or that sense of ownership in your community. It's just, we have a very selfish mentality now
And
as a
what's-
society.
What's funny you say that is, there's no accountability. Like everyone, if I mess up, it's your fault.
Right.
Well,
That's exactly.
I don't understand that.
Well, and it's
And-
breeding at the child level
It
because
is.
you know when I was a kid, we didn't get participation trophies.
Right.
If we lost, we looked at the other guy who won and said,
Absolutely.
"Dang, well I need that trophy. I got to work harder and I got to make it." But
Right.
anymore, these
It
parents are
teaches.
like, "Well, my kid needs a trophy too because we need to let him know that."
Now he's not going to want to play anymore.
Right, 'cause he's
Well,
not
and
gonna
that's the
wanna
thing.
win.
Well,
It's
you know what?
like-
If he's not good enough, he's not good enough.
Right.
But find
Try
what
harder.
he is good at, right? But I think too, you know, and I'm not a parent yet, so I understand a lot of people will say I can't really talk on this subject, but you know, I look at a lot of these kids these days and the way their parents just come to their rescue, and they blame if they get a bad grade in school, it's not their fault anymore. It's not because they didn't study hard enough. It's the teacher's fault, you know.
I
and
know so
the
many people
parents
that are like
don't
that.
want to take accountability for their child's success to say, well, maybe I need to spend some time at home helping my
They
children.
don't even keep scores anymore on like football games or baseball games in Little League.
Well,
Yeah.
well, here's the thing.
Just let 'em play.
Going into that, there are so many parents that are like that today that I run into every day. But
Yep.
here's the thing. It's funny because I was having a conversation a while back with a gentleman that I knew who doesn't have kids. And we were talking about my discipline with my kids. You know, I'm very strict with my kids. I think discipline is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
listen, if we disciplined like we did back in the day, you wouldn't have half these teenagers out running amok,
I agree.
stealing,
Just
robbing,
being disrespectful.
being
Absolutely.
disrespectful.
I agree.
And so he tells me, well, my mom raised me by herself because the first time my dad ever tried to discipline me, she divorced him. And
Oh, wow.
my mom read to me every single night before I went to bed. We read a Bible verse every morning when I woke up. I'm like, well, that's fucking great. I'm glad you were raised by Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
You know, that's once in a lifetime. And he was like, and I would never hit my children. I would always praise them and show. I was like, let me ask you this. Come home and find your 18-year-old that you put every ounce of energy to make him a bright young man, a good person of society. Come home and find your 18-year-old doing drugs in the bedroom. Or has a girl in the room.
Yeah.
And you hear noises and you go up and you kick the door open. You see, are you going to talk him out of that? You're going to...
Hey, buddy, you need to come outside here. I think you need to
Right.
put your clothes on,
Or,
man.
or your daughter,
Right.
or find a guy in your daughter's bedroom.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. Like I'm a. Don't get me wrong, and let me say this openly. I'm not saying abuse your children.
No,
Correct.
absolutely not.
There's a fine line between abuse and discipline.
Oh,
but what
yeah.
I am saying is there's nothing wrong with putting your foot in that kid's ass if he gets out of line. I mean, I get compliments wherever my kids go because they know not to
Sit down and act
They're
right.
well behaved.
they,
Yeah.
they don't get
You gotta-
get foolish.
You have to be a parent first,
You
not
have
their friend.
There's so many people
Correct.
out there that
There's-
are
people make that mistake all the time, and I think
Yeah.
you are, if you really want to prepare your children for success, let them experience failure. And parents are so afraid to let them experience failure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'd rather have my child experience failure when they're 15, 16, 17, and I'm still there to guide them through that failure and help them come out the other side, versus when they walk out into the job world. That's why a lot of these millennials are struggling. It's because they're looking for these corporations for, well, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Okay, well, let me give you something else to do. No, that's the job that I hired you
Exactly.
to do.
And
You
there are
better do-
kids-
And I mean, my corporate job, I saw it all the time. You know,
Well,
these
the
new
amount of-
kids come in, and it's like we're trying to cater to this group of people who, one, really don't have the work ethic, two, who complain at every drop of a hat. Life's not easy, but we're giving them the impression that it is because
Exactly.
we're running to their rescue.
Well, we had a guy call up the shop, wanting to ask for a job basically, because we put a job posting out, and he's like, and Debs answers the phone, she starts talking to him, and she's like, just go ahead and send your resume to Excel Cryotherapy at Gmail, and he was like, oh, well, I don't have a resume.
I'm like, well, you
Deb's
better
like,
get one.
Well,
Sorry.
what? Like,
Or
who does
little
that?
things like,
Wow.
oh, I've never owned a computer, so I just do things by phone. I was like, well, you better be resourceful. Find a library, find a
Right.
friend's computer to borrow,
And
create
write
a
up something.
resume,
I
and
mean,
send
We
it
got a
over.
smartphone.
But-
All millennials got a smartphone.
Right.
But it's like, at this point, we've created this culture where, well, whatever you don't want to spend the time doing, we'll make accommodations for
Right.
you.
Right.
And life doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. Even at a young age, if you let your child at a young age quit, they're going to quit the rest of their life. They're going to think that it's okay, that your mommy or daddy's always going to save you from it. And my thing is this: is obviously, we love our children and we want the best for our children, and we wouldn't purposely put them in harm's way.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, they've got to learn life lessons. There's got to be discipline. There's got to be structure. And there's so
Stand on
many
your own 2
people.
feet.
I don't get it. You see these kids out there today, or these parents are like, I don't know where I went wrong. I bought him a Beamer at 15, and we loved him his whole life, and he had an allowance of $800 a month. And why did he quit school and turn to drugs? Oh, gee.
Well, the discipline
Yeah.
factor.
You funded it.
The respect,
Yeah.
That's the thing. The
You
respect
allowed it to
factor is
happen.
not there at all at this day and age.
Speaking of respect, growing up, at least from my personal experience, if I could be half the man my father is, I'll truly achieve something in his lifetime. Still to this day, I still fear my father. Not you have to have some type
Respectful
of
fear. It's a
Right.
respectful fear.
Yeah.
It's a respectful fear.
And anything you respect, you have to fear, because if you don't, I mean, it's you don't understand how to be humble.
Right.
And,
When you have to start it when you're young, you have to let them know
Absolutely.
that, like, hey, this is unacceptable.
Exactly.
Coming home with a C- in school, that ain't gonna fly. And if you start that at a young age, you realize for a while, well, I don't want to let my parents down, and I don't want to, I don't want to be, so I better do what I'm supposed to do. Instead of a parent going, when a kid gets a C-, a parent going to school and being like, hey, well, you never taught my kid this, that, and the other.
Right.
Like when I was in school, it didn't matter. I had a friend, he's a substitute teacher, and he said this kid kept bringing his cell phone out in class. And he told the kid, hey, put it away. He told him like 3 times. The kid stopped, didn't do it, pulled it out again. He said, all right, well, he took the phone from the kid, said you can get it at the office, at the end of the day. Stick it in the principal's office, and then at the end of the day, all of a sudden, here comes this mom. She comes marching up to school, and she's like, well, why did you take my son's cell phone away? And he's like, ma'am, because he had it out in class, and he's like, well, it's not your cell phone. You're not supposed to take it. And he says, let me ask you a question. If you're in the middle of your work, if you're in the middle of the office, and your boss and your coworkers are all talking, whatever, would you just pull out your cell phone in the middle of your meeting? She goes, oh, that's different. She goes, no. He's like, no, it's not. He's like, it's the same thing.
right.
They're getting taught, we're teaching them here.
Teach
but yet,
respect.
what did that mom just teach her kid?
Right.
Well, you can bring,
You don't have to follow the rules. You don't have to follow the rules.
You don't have to
That's the thing.
respect.
you don't have to-
authority.
and it's
I
like,
don't-
who
yeah.
cares? If you don't like the rule, who cares? That's their rule.
Right.
That's like when you,
Exactly. Exactly.
at the end of the day, that's the authority. That's
Right.
your teacher, that's it. Like you follow the rules that are in their class. And so often now it's like the parents, well, if the parents don't agree with that rule, then they're like, well, then my kid doesn't have to
Right.
agree with the rule. And it's like, my parents didn't agree with some of their rules, but she's like, hey, that's the rule that's in so-and-so's class. So when you're in there for that 50
Exactly.
minutes or whatever, you got to go at it.
How is that with you, David, with having a daughter? Because I don't have a daughter, but I know if I did, it would probably be a little bit harder for me to impose discipline. I still would.
Yeah, I have a 6-year-old girl. She's really smart. She's learning Chinese. We do a mixture of homeschool classes and stuff like that. Most of that was because some of her friends early on in preschool and stuff have like bite marks on their arms, and were learning really bad behavior from public school. So it kind of scared us, and we wanted to keep her out of it for a little bit longer.
Right.
But yeah, actually, one of the things that I was really excited about having a kid, and one thing that was really important to me about my parenting was to find a way to establish these a stern, a disciplinary, structured atmosphere to rein her in, and also that allows her to thrive without ever having to hurt her physically. Because the way that I was raised, I don't really like that stuff too much. I think it's barbaric. I think corporal punishment is barbaric, and we should get rid of it. Because there's got to be a better way than hitting children. There's got to be a better way than.
Well, I mean,
hitting
for me, I
little
never really got hit when I was little.
Yeah.
I got hit by my dad one time, and I never got hit again.
I mean, well, that's there you
That
go.
was it.
Yeah.
Like he gave me that one, and I was like on my butt, and I was like, uh-oh.
I got
And then
hit with the belt.
And that was when I was young. I mean, I can't tell you. I think I got hit once when I was probably maybe 4, just patted on the butt, and it was like, well, I don't want to do that every day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I never did
Well-
it again. I can't tell you
Well,
last
there's,
time.
but
I
there's
mean,
something to say about the way that my dad was raised. He was raised in an environment that's very conservative. He was raised that you were like, it's the Christian thing to do. It's the right thing to do to corporally discipline your children. It's the right thing to do. And if you don't do it, then you are doing them wrong. You're actually
Wrong.
hurting your kids if you don't punish them often.
right.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
no,
so
no,
it
no.
created kind of like this weird environment where
Right.
it's like looking for things.
Looking for things just to
That's what I was talking about. There's a fine line
You
between
know.
discipline and abuse.
Oh,
like,
without a
let me-
doubt.
listen,
So-
I stole a stormtrooper when I was little because I wanted it. I had the Han Solo and I had the Chewbacca. I stole a stormtrooper when I was little, and my mom caught me, and I kind of wish she would have used the more non-corp,
Well, all it really ultimately taught me was like I was like kind of animalistically afraid of my dad.
See, there's a thing. I mean,
in a way, like it was like dad's home, and like oh, you know, some dogs when they freak out, and they're like, oh, why am I? Look at my belly. They're all,
what am I
scared,
supposed to
you know?
do?
Like, chill, I'm not gonna do anything to you. God,
Yeah.
dog, get up. You know.
they're pissing all over the rug. I'm not doing. I just walked past you.
I just knew that there's like, you know, because like I'm a prodigal musician, you know, and like I love movies and screenwriting, and I love telling jokes. And my dad's a funny guy. My dad was a prodigal musician. My dad loves storylines. He never encouraged me to do any of those things. I was going to be a professional baseball player because that's what he wanted. That was it, you know. And he would point out the window at the guys on the side of the road with the signs, stop, go, and be like, never end up like that. And now I'm an adult, and I'm like, that guy's a city worker with a pension. That guy is paid. That guy is seriously paid.
That garbage guy, he's
Yeah.
making decent cash.
Yeah, he's got dental and insurance and a pension, and he's getting scale union wages. He's good. He's got a corrupt, terrible union boss, you know, paying his wages. You know, he's good, you know, and
I'll
like
turn signs all day.
and you know, and he gets to have fresh air and exercise. I saw Office Space all the way to the end, you know.
Right.
Like there's value to that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, like there's like you said something earlier about doing stuff that you love. I think that's what's missing from raising our children is is early on finding things that not necessarily they love, because I'm also a firm believer that children are morons. And that, you know, we love them, but we protect them from themselves.
Wait,
because
what?
because
Wait, say that again?
We love them so much, but we have to protect them from themselves because they're so dumb. It's shocking. You know, like for every one time that I'm like just brought to tears because I'm so astounded that my daughter is such a beautiful genius and has such a good heart. I'm like, wow. There's like 4 times that I'm like shocked at what a monster she is. You know, like, my God, how horrible! I created that. Wow. Just like me in every way. How do I fight this? You know, like it's funny.
That's horrible. I created that.
Yeah, it's like this ongoing struggle. It's like this fascination with life, and every new generation is finding new things. Because you know, like for instance, like I'm never gonna to slap her around, and it'll never happen. You know, and my dad, you know, he was like, oh, he didn't like it very much, and my grandpa loved it. It was his favorite thing to do. You know, like and there's like these step downs in generations we can learn from our parents
Yeah.
and try to incorporate that as best as we can.
Right.
So it's like. We're
Don't-
all
but-
off the hook because no one has the answers.
Well,
so
don't
it's
you believe
okay.
it? But don't you believe though that
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's the truest thing. Like even you said, you don't have children yet, but you actually can speak on it because you've seen enough out there. You people know.
And they know what children are.
That's right. But the thing is there's no handbook ever to raise a child.
Oh,
No.
that's
So my thing is this: is like, I feel like, you know, I don't know if anybody agrees here, but I feel like to err on the side of discipline. You know, I would much rather be a little bit more strict than so lackadaisy because, you know, I have an 11-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and I've seen some of my 11-year-olds friends, and they are completely disrespectful, complete monsters, and it's because we don't believe in spanking him. We talked him out of his problem. Yeah, no, listen. My son and I heard one of these kids one time. We were all hanging out. And they were playing, and I told them, hey, you guys got to chill out, settle down. He turned to me and told me to shut the fuck up.
Oh my God.
And if anybody who knows me knows that doesn't sit well with me.
No, I can understand what you're
And I'm
coming
like,
from.
yo, whoa, hold up. Wait,
You're 11.
You're 11. What did you
I
say?
definitely see, because there's definite value to strict discipline, and I try very hard all the time to do that. It's kind of hard because like now that I'm older and I hear my my man voice in my head, and I'm yelling at my kid like, who do you think would I? Oh my God, I sound just like him. And I have to like force myself to finish, like you pick up this and then finish for bed. God, yeah, sucks. What have you done? You turned me into it. You know, it's hard, but like I have a younger half brother. We have to share the dad. We share a dad, and
we have to share
have
that.
to-
We have to share the dude.
we gotta share the dude. After my biological sister and I, we ended up leaving home. It was such a terrible situation. We left home on our own separately and moved in with my mom on separate occasions and stuff just to get away from that mess. But he stayed there until high school and everything. But because me and my sister left, they did like a heart-to-heart in the family. They figured maybe we should stop terrorizing our children to the point where they want to freaking, you know, put their eyes out.
Yeah.
And stop it. So they like put the reverse button on it. And from what I hear from him and my step-siblings is that they refused to discipline anybody ever again after that. Like they overcompensated.
Right.
And they started drinking. and
Oh, wow.
and never yelled or hit a kid ever again.
Interesting.
And my younger half brother, if you're listening out there, is a total punk. And
Wow.
he doesn't have, he doesn't care about anything. He doesn't have any ambition. He doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to do wax dabs and hang out at his girlfriend's house. And he doesn't want to do anything. And it's shocking because I remember when I was 19.
What's a wax dab?
I had huge plans for my life. And it was like a wax dab.
Yeah.
It's a concentration of THC that you synthesize from the plant. It's kind of comes out kind of like beeswax. And you put it into an apparatus with a blowtorch, and it gets really hot, and you suck in the vapors.
What's a?
Interesting.
That
That
sounds
is
a lot
interesting.
processing.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
You're
like
a cop. How do you not know that?
Well, I've never
it's
heard
brand new. I think it actually started happening since he retired.
I don't know what.
And you're a federal agent.
I don't know
brand
what.
new.
I don't know
It's a
what.
huge. It looks just.
Sorry, I
like
didn't mean to say that out loud. He's not a federal agent. He works at a plant company and grows roses.
Well, you've seen like a bong or a water pipe before, right?
Yeah.
Where the bowl would be is actually a big metal bolt that you heat up with the blowtorch, and then you put the goo on it.
And for those of you watching that need education on how to do this,
And you're like, your eyes like sealed shut, and it's like you can't find. You're like, what happened? Did I wax dab? Mom! And you're afraid. It's not cool. It's really good. But my little brother loves it. It's his favorite thing in the world to do.
well, so
It's like drop classes and wax dab. It's like his favorite two
Nice.
things. So I love you, bro. He's not listening.
so
He's wax dabbing.
If he started listening to the wax, he'll tell me, yeah, I listen to the show, and I'll like bring up things that happened in the first 5 minutes, just to not call him out on the fact that he did not listen to the show.
yeah, you're not listening, are you? It's funny because, and we got to wrap up here in a second. But what's funny is that with so much that comes with discipline and like I look at you two and I'm thinking to myself, man, I wonder what it would really be like if you guys, when you guys have a child, like what kind of parents you guys are going to be, Like let's be honest. Who
Like,
would
are
be
you
the
going to dab in
who would
front of
be
your
the
kids?
disciplinary?
Are you going to freeze in front
Totally
of your kids?
me.
We'll freeze.
Yeah.
We'll put them in there.
You'll be the disciplinary?
Yeah, I mean, I think
She said, "Yeah."
primarily
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I
she
will
took
be.
that up right off the bat.
That'll be
He is really nonchalant about most things until he hits a certain level. So if the kid does something really, really bad or something, I think he'll go off
So
the
this
deep
is going to be the
end.
kind of thing where you're going,
But-
you don't want me to tell your dad?
Yeah. You'd be like,
Let me
"Inside
call your
out,
dad.
Put this foot
If I have
down.
to-
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be that old school mentality where it's
Yeah.
like, mom handles most of the disciplining until like it's real bad.
Yeah.
Then dad steps in and it's
Yeah.
like, uh-oh. That's when you know it's real bad. Is when
Unless it's a girl. Because if
Nope.
it's a girl and it's a
Yeah.
daddy's girl,
No, because that's what I'm doing. That's what, like, because my daughters fight with her. My daughter fights with her mom like siblings. They're like, no, you stop. No, get in the bathtub. No, you. No. And I'm in there, and then Cheryl will come out and she's like, would you please? And I'll look at her and I'm like, okay, it's time. I go in there and I take a little deep breath. Okay, here we go. Okay. You start in,
uh-huh.
and you put your foot all the way down.
Yeah.
And
She'll
then
be
you
the
and then you walk
disciplinarian.
away.
Yeah.
And then you walk away. You put your foot down and you leave.
I hope that we can. I had a really great situation growing up. I mean, I never saw my parents argue, but I think.
And
I
our
could
parents also didn't even.
I can remember like one time in my entire life ever seeing my parents have a disagreement. So I never was in that type of environment, which was great. But
Wow,
they
don't even know what that-
always.
I wouldn't even know.
Her
wouldn't even
parents
know-
are an anomaly. Like
I mean,
she
but
also.
they always talked about things.
Well,
it was
that's a good
always,
thing.
yeah, they were definitely the definition of a partnership. I mean, if we said, Mom, can we go do X? Well, have you asked your dad? No. Well, go ask your dad and let me know what he says. And then I'll go, Dad, can I do X, Y, Z? Well, did you ask your mom? Yeah, she told me to ask you. Well, let me talk to Mom about it. And then they'd go behind closed doors, they'd talk about it, and they'd come out a united front on the yes, the no, what could happen.
Well, that's pretty impressive.
So we could never pin one parent. You see that all the
Right.
time. The kids kind of pin one parent against the other. That could never happen in my household. And so
That's pretty impressive.
Our dad was
I
also an
certainly-
engineer, so everything was smooth and calculated.
Right.
Very calculated. I mean, I hope that we can kind of incorporate some of that when we do have kids, just because I think that's where some of the issues come is when you allow your children to kind of manipulate your relationship in who said what and what they can do. So being united in everything, I think, is really critical.
Yeah, like my kid, she'll be like, "Hey, Dad, can I go, like jump off the counter with a knife or whatever she wants to do?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not." And then she'll go, Mom, can I go jump off the counter with a knife? And her mom will be like, well, yeah. And then she'll go do it. And then I'll be like, what are you doing? She's like, well, Mom said that I can do this, you know. It happens like every day. She pits us against each other. Like,
It's all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, listen, I get it. You know, I think that, and I have boys, so it's a little bit different. I mean, and you'll find this out. Which, I mean, listen, unless you have well, I'm not going to go there because that'll cause a whole nother controversy, and we don't have time for that.
what are you going to start guessing about whether or not they have a boy or a girl?
Well, no, I was going to say
Twins, call it a day.
What is it? What do you call it? Call it.
That would be Josh's. This guy's so literal. He would tell you. He would just.
You
look
will
at
have 2 girls.
So I'll go with you. A twins, a boy and a girl. There you go. See, make it
boy and
easy.
a girl.
Make it easy.
What I'm saying is that
I have
you
no
know,
idea
with
why
my
I just
boys,
guessed that.
with my boys, I've always tried to instill, you know, the fact that hard work is always gonna, you know, you work hard for anything that you want. You know, you respect people. Don't ever give up. For an example, and I'll share this real quick. Right before we got here, we were in a heated game of Monopoly. We have been for the past 3 days, and because I bought hotels, my son landed on my hotels and had to pay me $9.75 million. He decided right off the bat, he's like, well, I quit. I'm going bankrupt. That's it. I quit. And he has like 40 properties already of his own that he could mortgage out and get the money to pay me.
Yeah.
But he wanted to quit. And I was like, absolutely not. You're not just quitting. Just because it gets tough, you're going to figure this out.
Right.
And guess what he did? And,
He
you know,
mortgaged and paid you.
he mortgaged and paid me.
Yeah.
I took all of his properties. He's going to be bankrupt in about 4 hours, but I took all his money. But my point was that even in just little things like that, where he might think I'm being mean, like, oh, you're just gloating because you got all the properties now and you're winning. No, I'm like, son, don't quit. Just because it gets hard and you feel like you can't win, don't
You
quit.
can hit the free
Well,
parking.
especially, I mean,
That's
think
right.
In something so insignificant in life, you know, if you can't accept the difficult in something that doesn't matter, how are you going to handle it on
Right.
something that really can impact your life?
Right.
You know, so you have to learn on the things that really don't mean anything, so that you know how to handle it properly when the big.
Well, it's like
things
Cam
come.
Newton.
Ooh.
I used to like Cam Newton.
Man.
Actually, no, I didn't. I put this back. Didn't like Cam Newton that much. Wasn't fond of him. But then this year, over the year, I started growing on me. I said, you know, this guy's pretty cool. You know, he gives to the kids, gives back. You know, he goes to the hospitals and does all that kind of stuff. I was like, all right, you know, he's a pretty cool dude. And granted, he was never that dude that got in trouble off the field, so I got to give him credit for that. Like, he wasn't that kind of guy. So I was like, all right, Cam Newton's pretty, you know, he just has fun with the game.
Okay.
And then when he lost,
Ooh.
I said, okay.
Rolling around on the field.
He's rolling around the field. He's punching the ground. He's looking at a ref for a call because he's getting hit so much.
Right.
And instead of looking at a ref for a call, he should be looking at his left offensive tackle saying, dude, what the heck are you doing over here?
Yeah.
Leaves
You
a
know?
press conference.
It leaves a press, and that's what bothered me. I said, you know what? And I've been going back and forth on Facebook with some of my friends who are coaches, and they used to be athletes and stuff, and they're like, well, I don't think I don't have a problem with anything that he did. I mean, have you ever been in that situation? I said, look, as a professional athlete who just got named the MVP, there's a certain level of professionalism that you have to have. And that, whether that's, you know, no one's sitting there saying you have to jump up and down and do backflips and love that you lost.
It goes beyond the game.
It goes beyond the game. It goes to show a kid, hey, when you do lose or when you don't do well, stand up and take it like a man, just like you were before when everybody was
Yeah,
talking
when
to
you
you,
were-
when you were dabbing in people's faces and smiling and dancing and having a grand old time, and when you were down to talk to the media for 45 minutes the whole week leading up to the Super Bowl, and then after you lose, now all of a sudden they're the bad guys.
Nobody said you couldn't feel
Bad.
bad.
Nobody's
or mad
bad.
or bad about losing. Nobody said that. Just say, you know what, this sucks. It sucks to lose. It sucks.
Luke
to...
Kuechly handled it perfect. He said, you know what? We talked about before the game, and we knew this game was going to come down to which team handled it better, who made more plays. They made more plays today. You know, this sucks. It's this is going to sting, and it
There you
should
go.
sting. But you
Yep.
know what? We're going to come back from. We're going to be better, and
Right.
that is how you handle something. You turn something into from a negative to a positive. And then I lost even more respect for Cam when he was saying, like, you show somebody who's not a sore loser, and I'll show you a loser.
Ooh. Ooh.
Basically calling his teammates Luke Kuechly and Greg Olson, who handled it in a classy way,
Exactly.
that they're losers because they handled it in a professional way.
Right,
And it's like we've all lost big things in our life. You know, whether maybe some haven't been on the Super Bowl, a lot of people haven't. But you know, I've lost big races.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's lost big races. You know, we didn't get a gold medal in the Olympics. We got a bronze medal, but that basically constitutes as a loss. You know, but there's certain positives. I mean, when we saw them handling the gold medal to the guys on the podium, we all as competitors were like, God, you know, that bronze medal kind of lost its luster. We were like, we kind of want that one. But we weren't like, we didn't go back
You
and
didn't fall
pout
on the ground
and roll around. Yeah, we didn't cry. I don't want this. And throw it. It was just, and that's the thing that got me with him. I said, you know what? And maybe he'll learn from it. Hopefully he does. And the next time he comes out and he loses or whatever, he handles it more, classy. But it just, that right there goes to, he kind of grew up, I mean, he's only 5 years younger than me, but he grew up in that entitlement generation of, where he didn't know how to lose. He didn't know how to handle a loss.
Right.
He didn't know how to, I mean, at least sit there and answer the questions. Yes. No. They want more, more information from
I know what you're saying. It was so bad. And he embarrassed himself.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
If he wanted to be like Marshawn Lynch, give him all respect. Because you know what? He handled his media the same way before
and after.
Right. He didn't talk to him, period. He didn't like it. He said yes, no questions, took his 3 minutes. Whether they were trying to pump him up or tear him down, he gave him 3 minutes and then went on with it.
That's right.
That was his thing. So if you're going to handle the media one way, you better handle it the same way with them after.
Right.
Just not when it's good, but when it's bad also. And so, that's Cam Newton it's kind of that generational thing. He didn't know how to lose. He's a sore loser. And yeah, nobody likes to lose, but there's a way to handle it in a professional way.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think, in conclusion, I think one of the biggest things that we should always try every day is to be gracious, not only with ourselves and be patient with ourselves, but be gracious with others, be gracious with the obstacles that we face in life, and always strive to be the best and always strive to help other people be their best. I think a lot of that's lost in today's generation. I mean, everybody's so selfish and everybody's always just looking out for themselves. There's nothing wrong with helping other people and encouraging other people to be the best at what they can be. I want to thank everybody today for being on the Focus podcast. For all those people out there that followed us live on Twitch TV, thank you so much. We'd like to thank Jarrin and his wife, Debra Solomon,
for having us.
From Excel Cryotherapy and Olympian for coming out and joining us on the Focus podcast today. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Ray Dulce Clothing, Mac 10, Money is King the Movie, RSP Nutrition, Rockwell Watches. Thank you all for supporting us. Josh, Danger, any closing words before I say my last closing statement?
It was a good show, Josh.
Pleasure, Danger.
Hey, wait, hold on. Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm doing an outro.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to check us out next week when we have MMA fighter Donald Sanchez here with us live. We're going to be talking UFC. We're going to be talking his next fight. Also, we are going to challenge Jarrin to that race. Trust me, we're going to have him back, and we're going to videotape it live. And we're going to see how good he really is.
Bring the heat.
All right, everybody, thank you so much. Peace.